Let's go back now to our top story. The Spanish government announced about an hour ago they will not let Sunday's planned independence vote go forward. Raul Romeva is Catalonia's foreign minister. He joins us now live from Barcelona. Very good to see you. What is your response to that?
Well, excuse me. Well, my response is that it is impossible to stop that in the sense that, first of all, this is not an illegal act. Second, this is something that is absolutely necessary in the sense that providing a political solution to a political problem. And third, what it should concern, actually it certainly concerns us, it should concern everyone, is why the repressive response by the state is going that far. They are shutting down websites, they are arresting people, they are impeding and banning the people to have political debates. They are violating the fundamental rights like the freedom of expression, the freedom of press. So this is something that obviously has not to do with the independence of Catalonia. It really has to do with the democratic structures and principles of the Spanish state.
Okay, let's talk about what you've just raised there, what the Spanish government is doing in order to prevent this from happening. We've seen tractors coming in order to protect the voting booths so that the voting can take place. I mean, how can you guarantee that this is not going to turn violent?
Well, basically, because if you have followed all the demonstrations that are taking place in Catalonia, not only along all those years, but also in the recent days, you will see that it's in the DNA of the Catalan way of behave that it is always peaceful. Even when you have a repressive measure taken by the police, when they gone to the printing houses, when they have confiscated published material on the elections, the response from the people has always been absolutely peaceful. They have even provided with carnations, they have given carnations to the police, which means that there is no will, and obviously it's in non-interest that this would be a violent situation. There is not a single reason to believe that there is a risk of violence, violence there. The question there is why somebody is trying to provoke that situations, but obviously from that perspective I have to be very clear. Neither from the government nor from the civil society, the message is to respond to those provocations. On the contrary, our response has always been, it is going to be always a peaceful response.
Okay, you can see why the Spanish government and Spain doesn't want to lose you being as successful as you are. But if you look at polls in the lead up to the vote on Sunday, something like 40% say that they will vote for independence. So I'm just wondering if this is worth it, considering the fallout, whether you win or lose.
No, basically because this is not about independence, I insist. The 80% of the Catalan population understands that given the current situation, the solution passes through voting. Part of it wants to vote yes to independence, part of it wanted to vote no, which means that basically the 80% is demanding let's solve that situation by democracy, by voting, by listening to everybody and by respecting what the majorities want to have. I insist, this vote, it is not something against the Constitution, it's not an illegal act, and which is very difficult to understand is why somebody tries to repress this via the measures that the Spanish government is doing. So at the end, it's not a question of how many people is going to vote for the independence. No, it's even more dramatic than this. It has to do with the democratic principles of the Spanish state. So
okay, I mean, I believe that Spanish Parliament can only change the Constitution, which the Catalonians signed up to. So therefore, I believe that the referendum is considered illegal. I know that you have been appealing in Brussels and to European leaders to help you through this situation, to help with the dialogue. What sort of dialogue are you expecting if you know that the government says it is illegal and it doesn't want it to go ahead?
I insist, it is not illegal. And what the Constitution does not ban at all to hold a referendum. It's simply a question of political will. I have to be very clear with this. This is why it's so dramatic, the response given by the Spanish state. And what I call to the European Union is that they have to choose whether they choose for democracy, whether they choose for political solutions to political problems, or they choose on the other side for repression, for taking repressive measures to something that in fact is not illegal and that violates fundamental rights. There are two options here. There are two projects that we need to be very clear at. And the European Union both the institutions and the member states should decide in which sides they are. And that is what basically we are demanding. I insist, this is not against the Constitution, this is not against the law, this is something that simply requires to be a tool to solve a political problem. And if you have followed all those years how the Catalan behavior has been, there is no reason to believe that, well, there is no margin for a willing of negotiation. The Catalan side has always been keen to negotiate. The problem is that to negotiate, you need to have somebody.
So can I just ask you something very briefly?
And
if you
so far,
do
there
lose,
is nobody.
what is it that you are prepared to accept?
You mean the losing? You mean lose? That means the no side wins.
Yeah. What do you prepared?
What do you understand by losing?
Where does the conversation go now with the government? I mean, surely you'll have to talk about this, making yourself known how unhappy you are.
Well, that's exactly what we have been doing for years. We have demanded the Spanish government to sit on a table and to talk about those issues. The problem is that the Spanish government doesn't want to talk about this. They are denying any talks, any dialogue on the subject matter. I insist, there is a demand in Catalonia to vote, not necessarily all of them to vote yes. There is a huge part that wants to vote yes, but there is also a part that wants to vote no. They say there is no majority in Catalonia for independence, then the solution is very easy. Let the people vote, and if the no side wins, we accept the result. Obviously, that will lead us to new autonomous elections. That is what I understand should be the basis for the dialogue. But unfortunately, the response we are giving from the Spanish state is no to everything. And this makes any negotiation very difficult. But still, I insist, we are keen to negotiate. We want to go to a negotiation table. Obviously, right now, our proposal is to negotiate how to hold a referendum. But since Sunday, we will see what the result is. And we will have to negotiate the result of that referendum.
Okay, well, very good to talk to you, Raul Romeva. You certainly made everyone sit up and take note.